Hi there guys, Ken here, your Thrifty Apprentice, and welcome back to another Thrifty review. In today's video, we are going to be doing a quick review of the Koh-I-Noor Mondeluz 72 count of watercolor pencils. Now this set of pencils come in two different type of packaging. The 72 count, it comes in a metal tin and it comes in the cardboard packaging. Of course, there's a price point difference based on the packaging that you get, but the product inside was exactly the same. So I opted for the cardboard box at the lower price point. And mainly because I wanted to add another brand of professional watercolor pencils to my collection without having to spend as much as the metal tin was costing. So let's take a look here. We have this, nice cardboard packaging. Of course, I've mishandled mine. But for what it's worth, it's pretty nice packaging, and it will hold the pencils well. Pencils since 1790, Koh-I-Noor. Mondeluz 72, draw sketching, coloring, water soluble, authentic quality product, art set. Art collection has got a really nice watercolor painting, watercolor pencil painting over here to the right. Beautiful, love it. Nice little artwork and printing there. Flip the box over on the back. Aquarelle drawing set, says that in a couple of other languages. Drawing, sketching, coloring, light, fast, high pigmentation, water soluble. So there they make the claim that the pencils are light, fast, and that they contain high pigments. We're going to get into that in just a moment. It gives the website and lets you know that these pencils are made in the Czech Republic. A couple of other symbols and labels, QR codes, pictures of pencils and whatnot. Pretty straightforward. Packaging has color swatches down here on the bottom, which you wouldn't really be able to genuinely tell anything from that. So that's the packaging. When you open the box up, which it does have secure, it's, it's deep. It goes in there deep. That tongue is pretty long. On the inside of the box, you will get pencil sharpeners. There's two, tucked in, one on both the right and the left side. And that's pretty much the box. The pencils come in 3 trays. And those trays are separated by a piece of cardboard themselves. Let me get that lid in there. So let's slide the trays over. You'll notice that some of the pencils are missing because I've been doing some work with them and playing around with them a little bit more before we got into the review. So here you have 3 different trays of pencils. They come in a okay, it's pretty flimsy to tell you the truth. Inside there, so that may be another advantage of getting the metal tin set, that you won't have to deal with the flimsy trays as far as getting to your pencils, because they are stacked, and not unless you're going to leave these out, especially if this is your own professional set, kind of like on your desk somewhere, so you won't have to deal with the tray. The pencils are colored. The barrel itself is colored based on the lid. And for what I can tell, the lid of the pencil versus the barrel was no real indication of the color. So I definitely do suggest swatching the pencils out if you should get them. So you do have an optical pencil. So it is produced and made not to roll away from you when you're working with it. Although sometimes they did roll, in all honesty. But not as much as a round pencil would. Now, it's not domed or capped on the end, so you can see whether the lid is centered inside the pencil. For the most part, these were pretty centered. I did have a few of them that were off-center, but nothing was just too bad that I would have been like disappointed in the product based on the way that it was actually produced and put together. So I was really happy with that particular aspect. The pencils lids do sharpen well and stay pretty sharp. They hold their point. Now, like most watercolor pencils, they do have a bit of a scratchy sound when you use them. So if you are, as I say, allergic to sound or allergic to certain sounds, then that might be something you want to think about. But that may be something you want to think about with all watercolor pencils. From my experience, most of them, the majority of them, pretty much everyone I've ever used in all honesty, has sort of a scratchy sound to it when you're using it on watercolor paper that also has texture. So With that being said, the pencils come with printing on the barrel. It does say Koh-I-Noor, Hardmuth, Mondeluz. There's a picture of a paintbrush. It gives 3710, which I think is the series number, because I noticed that number is printed on each of the pencils, and then it gives the number 34 on this particular one. They do come numbered, and I think it's the number in the series for them. So you can tell the individual pencils based on the number at the end of the barrel if you're able to read, you know, that gold writing against these colored barrels. On some of them, especially the darker colors, I felt like, you know, it was pretty easy to read. On the lighter colors, maybe not so much, especially if you're looking at it under a light, because it would have a glare on it. But, you know, that didn't affect the quality of the pencils. Just something I thought I should tell you about the physicality, so you can keep it in mind if you need to. Each one of the trays come with a little brush in it. Now, I did not use the brushes at all. These are synthetic brushes, and of course I always suggest a synthetic brush when you're using a watercolor pencil in order to push the pigment around. There are 3 of these included in the pack, along with the 2 erasers and the pencils. And those brushes are 3 different sizes, just so you know. They're not all the same size. You got like a number 8, a number 6, and I do believe the first tray contains, the first tray contains a number 3, the second tray a number 6, and the third tray a number 8. So 3 different size round synthetic brushes that are meant to go along with helping pushing the pigment around. So that's actually a pretty good deal for that set. I mean, in that cardboard box, you're going to get the 72 pencils, you're going to get 2 pencil sharpeners, and you're going to get 3 round synthetic brushes that come in 3 different sizes. So that's not too bad of a fare, considering the fact this is a professional product. So that's the give that you get for not getting the metal tin with this particular type of packaging. Thought that was really cool. That's pretty much the physicalities of the pencils. Not here nor there. We did talk about the fact that the lid is scratchy. It's one of those semi-soft lids. It's not like creamy. I've had some watercolor pencils that are really creamy when you use them. So these, I did not necessarily think that, hey, this is something that I would use as a color pencil. Like I tell you guys with most watercolor pencils, you can use them as color pencils. And that's not to say that you can't with these. Just in my particular experience, I would probably go with a traditional color pencil if I was going to be using these. But this just means, this is just a hair that I'm splitting. That's not to say that you can't use these as to do some layering on top of, you know, your water layer. So I swatched the pencils out, as I always suggest when it comes to watercolor pencils, just so I could get an idea of what each color really did look like. I wrote the corresponding number from the pencil on the swatch chart so that I have it for reference. Now, I did the swatching on fluid watercolor paper. This is an 8x8 block, so I do need to cut this top sheet off. And then I'm going to cut it down so that I can fit this swatch sheet inside the box. So I have it for quick reference whenever I happen to pull these pencils out. And I'll be honest, I think I will be using them a lot for a lot of reasons. Let's get into the qualities. These are beautiful pencils. There is a really nice color selection for the 72 pencils. They perform so beautifully with water. The pigment payoff is superb. I'll be honest, they kind of rival my Caran d'Ache in all honesty at a very much lower price point. And when it comes to professional watercolor pencils, unlike regular watercolors, there's not a huge difference in them. You're really just kind of picking and poking fun at little things here and there in order to distinguish the difference between the products when it comes to professional watercolor pencils. Now, this is a really nice range of pencils. There's a lot of yellows and orange tones, some nice blues and greens, some decent earth tones. Now, what I will say is there's not a lot of reds in here. And the reds that you do have are not, you know, sort of in a step range where, let's just say I feel like I'm missing a red for this to be a comprehensive set. And the thing with watercolor pencils, although you can you know, mix them together and blend them together. When you're gonna buy a set of 72, you're kind of expecting not to have those kind of fill-in colors. So that is one thing to note. The reds are, you know, although the ones that are in here are pretty saturated, I kind of feel like I was missing some in between. But that's just, you know, my personal opinion about the set. That didn't take away from the fact that the colors I did have performed really well, dispersed really easily with water added to the pigment. They worked well with regular wood handle brushes, acrylic handle brushes. I used water brushes on them, so I didn't have an issue with any of those bristles. Still, I suggest a synthetic, but my water brush is not a really hard brush per se, and it dispensed the pigments perfectly fine. I had no issue at all. So I did a little color mixing with the pencils. Like I told you guys, you don't really have to, but I wanted to try to see what would happen if you didn't have 72 of these pencils, because I was pretty impressed with them from, you know, swatching them out and some of the paintings that I did from them. So here I did a color wheel. I just took rolled my masking tape and taped that cardboard inside, and then on the outside I just kind of mixed the colors. Now here I used a red, a yellow, and a blue. Man, and the reason I was missing them out of the tray is because I've kind of kept the pencils out so I can make reference, because I didn't really write down the colors. In the first set I used the more what I call true of the primaries, the ones that look like they were the more true to form on a traditional red, yellow, and blue color. So that's what was used to make the color wheel here. And for all intents and purposes, they mixed really well. I got a really decent orange here. And the truth of the matter is that orange tone is not something that was included in the pencil set. The red stood up pretty well. I did not have to press really hard. I did not use a lot of pressure when I was laying down the pigment. I mean, it gives off nice pigmentation with these pencils. Here I got an okay purple or violet purple color. It's more of a deep here. I kind of went a little crazy with the water. And keep in mind, these are watercolor pencils, so you wouldn't use nearly as much water with these as you would with like a paint. Really decent true blue, gave me a really nice green. So for what it's worth, those colors mixed well. So here I did a mixing line, and I pulled what I felt would be the split primary to those colors. And that would be this set of pencils, where I had more of a, where I was shooting for more of a crimson color, or the more deep, cooler red, blue, and yellow. So let's take a look there. They mixed out pretty well. Look at that. I love the green that I got. The purple again gave me something to be desired in both of the mixings, and I'm not exactly sure why that is, if I just can't mix purple or they just didn't mix well on one or the other. The orange was really nice. So I'm not sure what really went on with that purple, but the pencils mix really well. It lets me know that you could have a smaller set of these as long as there was a kind of a split palette of colors, where you're getting a warm and a cool yellow, red, and blue, and maybe a sappy green color, you know, kind of like you would pull together from the paints. You could probably take 12 of these pencils and do some amazing paintings with them, because they are such a high quality product, in my opinion. Now, I think it's really funny because this is the second video review that I've done this week. Not sure when you guys will see it, but that I've done this week as far as shooting it, where I was really impressed with the product. The first one was that pretty excellent watercolor set. And the second is this. Now, the difference is that Pretty Excellent was a student budget brand. This is a professional, and it does not disappoint. So I did a little, you guys know I always do my comfort fruit when I'm testing something straight out the gate, just to see how they perform. Drew a cherry here, really loved it, came out really well. Pencils went nice with my credit card scraper. You guys know I'm always looking for products that work real well with it, although It never really disappoints. I was able to layer really well. And what I liked is that here, this is maybe 3, possibly 4 layers. I can't really remember because I was going really light with each layer. I was testing to see if the pencils would lift. I like the fact that you could build layers with these without the layer underneath lifting like you find with a lot of watercolor pencils. So I thought that was a really good thing. Overall, a whole bunch of positives. I mean, the only drawbacks to the pencils are the fact that they, like I said, they do carry that scratching noise. They're not domed. I mean, they're not the... they're put together well for what they are, but they're not the most fanciest of pencils that I've seen. With that said, being fancy has not, it's a really nice looking pencil, you know, and to be over the top fancy has nothing to do with the quality, because I've seen some really fancy pencils that perform like, you know, not good at all. These are amazing pencils. These are some really good watercolor pencils. I mean, I would use them on a regular basis. I would teach with these. I would definitely suggest these. You know, I'll go ahead and throw that out. Let's say, oh, let me show you guys a couple of things I did with it before we wrap this up. I mean, because I didn't have anything really bad to say about the pencils. These are something that I definitely suggest to you guys. I feel like they would be wonderful for artists of all levels. Please, by all means, don't think that you have to be a professional to paint with these. And at the price point we're going to talk about, they're not a really bad buy at all. And beginners, I think, would, you know, beginners would, it would be cool for beginners to get these and use these. If this is your first watercolor pencil set, I mean, you really wouldn't have to buy another one, especially if you're on a budget. Okay, so I showed this painting in the Pretty Excellent review as well. And I'm not sure where that review or this review is going to come up versus where the tutorial for this comes out. But at some point, you're going to see all 3 of them, you know. So this was a mixed media project with the Koh-I-Noor pencils and the Pretty Excellent watercolor paints. I feel like it came out really well. They played really well together. These pencils play really well with other products because I've used them in some ink tints. Not ink tints, but Inktober, excuse me, projects as well. So the pencils are really nice, period. This came out pretty well. I had some beautiful granulations. Of course, that was from the paints, but I was able to layer the pencils here in the background foliage as well as the trees, the triad of trees over here. Use the pencils in some of the rock work. Yeah, really nice pencils. That came out well, showing you guys. The very first thing I ever did was in this render sketchbook. Now, I saw this on a couple of YouTube channels, and I was really curious about it. I ran across it in Jerry's Autorama. This is a really different sketchbook, should I say. This is no show-through paper. So the paper is, you know, made so that you can paint on one side without it showing through on the other, which will probably make it perfect for painting on both sides or drawing on both sides. But I did a watercolor pencil drawing with the Mondeluz, and this is how it came out. Again, really nice control. Love the color payoff. These pencils are really bright and pretty, and it doesn't take much water to get them activated and saturated and just make them pop and come alive. So that was the first painting I did, I think. And I was just, you know, trying to test the page of this paper because the sketchbook was brand new. I also had some other things I did here. Let's take a look. So this one was a demo also that goes up on the channel. Maybe it's come out, maybe it hasn't, have no idea. But I did a little color swatch chart here of some pencils that I just kind of pulled out by color randomly, and decided that I would go in and do this little landscape, almost similar to the one you just saw on the render paper, but not quite. Want to change it up a little bit, maybe even thinking about doing a landscape series along that line. I also did a little color swatch chart here for a tutorial by Lindsay the Frugal Crafter that I followed. I'm doing some carnations with watercolor pencils. I really wanted to see how these worked in a wet on wet environment. And let me tell you, they do not disappoint. And, you know, you can also kind of use the lid as a palette. You can take a wet brush and just kind of rub it across that lid in order to bring color over to your paper. And that's what I did in order to get the splatters. And do keep in mind, you can also take a scrap piece of watercolor paper and kind of, you know, scribble your pencils out in blocks and kind of use that as a little makeshift palette. Really quick insert. That's a great way to make a little quick travel palette. If you're going to go off somewhere and you know you're going to have about 15-20 minutes to paint and you don't want to take a lot of supplies with you. So like you can take, you know, like a 5x5 piece of watercolor paper and take your watercolor pencils out and make you a palette. Scribble you enough pigment on there so that you'll be able to use it to do you a little quick painting or a little ink and wash. Throw it in a little Ziploc bag and you can put that inside a sketchbook. Grab you a brush. You got 3 little things. Go. You're gone. So that's a little thing, idea to keep in mind when it comes to watercolor pencils. I also tried the pencils, should I say, not some. I tried the pencils in this Soho Urban Artist Mixed Media book that I picked up from Jerry's. You know, Jerry's is going to be the death of me, especially with it having a brick and mortar store. And did this painting. Came out really, really nice. You know, I enjoyed these pencils. I enjoyed these pencils a lot, and I'm going to continue to use them. The color payoff is ridiculous. And here's the thing. They're cheaper than my Caran d'Ache. So I can use these and, you know, not have any qualms about the quality of the products that I'm using, mainly because I know, one, they're from a legacy professional, reputable pencil maker and art company. 2, they are light fast, which is what you're looking for when it comes to watercolor pencils, especially professional watercolor pencils. And 3, they're economical and affordable. I did go to the Koh-I-Noor website. Just wanted to do a little bit more research in order to, quote unquote, take their word for, although I didn't need to. The fact that the pencils are light fast, and so you can find that information on the site if you're curious. But yeah, there you have it, guys. That is the Koh-I-Noor Mondeluz 72 count of watercolor pencils. They get a thumbs up and a green light from me. These pencils you can currently find for about 41 bucks for the cardboard box set. Now, I'm going to tell you, the 10 set is a lot higher because you're getting that 10. But keep in mind, some of the drawbacks to the set are the flimsy trays. You're not going to have to worry about that with the 10. But whether you get the 10 or whether you get the box set, I do not think by any means that you would be disappointed with this purchase. These are some amazing, beautiful pencils, and they are going to make some artists of whatever level really happy. All right, guys, so you have it. If you, oh, and I will link some places that you can get the pencils in the video description if you are interested in purchasing them in the cardboard box set that is. And like I said, you can get them for under 50 bucks. So that's a wonderful buy, especially for a professional product that performs at this high quality. So if you like what you heard or anything you saw, don't forget to give the video a thumbs up. Go ahead and subscribe. Hit that bell so you can get notified when new content go up. Please share the video. Remember that sharing is caring, and I would really, really appreciate it. Don't forget to hit us up on the Thrifty Apprentice Facebook page or Instagram, where you can like and or follow us. And as I tell you at the end of every single video, my friends, get these pencils if you really want them. If you have some professional pencils, you might not need them. So think about it and just keep painting.